Hi, everybody. Renee was in the middle of a yawn as I was signing on. So I'm laughing like, shh, it's okay. So, that was so funny. I was like, that's poor timing. Anyway,
Hi.
happy Sunday. And it's June 13th, 2021. In case you forgot the year. In case you're not sure of what's happening anymore. Yes, we're in 2021. And, things are happening as usual. But I was just re-listening to the original Meditation for Global Healing, and wow, that really brings me back to just how quarantine felt and all that stuff, but also to see how much has happened in a year. So I was talking about that last week, about the massive amount of changes and how it's time to reflect on that. Not to relive it, but just to remember that good things really are happening, and that we are able to be with more people now and feel more safe. And it's honestly, sometimes it's just about the feeling of feeling safe rather than even the truth of it. It's just how we feel. So if we're feeling safe, then honestly, we're doing really, really well. Thanks for the hearts. I appreciate that. By the way, does anybody ever see the light orb that goes behind me? It's so wild. Sometimes I can even see it when we're live. You gotta watch for it. There's like a tiny...
Oh.
It looks like almost like a speck of dust, but it just goes all around. Anyway, yeah, it's really funny. I noticed that. So this week, this is one of 3 of the last ones that we're going to do consecutively. So I was trying to think of what would be important to talk about. Hi, Kristen. And then I was thinking about just how we're going to brush on some topics that will go into detail in like workshops and stuff in the future. So tonight I want to do a little bit on calling upon. So I'm saying calling upon or calling in. This is a spiritual term, maybe even a shamanic term, about many. It can be about many things. Like currently right now I'm calling in my dreams, and that pertains to land and things like that. And there's so many ways of doing it. I want to tell you a really funny story, guys, because you're going to appreciate this. So the shamanic coach that I'm working with, really good just for leveling me back to what my goals are and what I need to be focusing on. So a couple of weeks ago, she said, you're calling upon this land, you should make an offering. So this is a great story. So I'm in the bathtub, I'm lying down, I'm doing my own meditation, my own work. And earlier that day, I had spoken to my tree in the back of the parking lot, Marna. We all love Marna. She's a great gal. And I said to her, I was like, I need your help. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what else we're going to focus on, what I need to do. And I said, I'm going to give you an offering. Later on, I'll ask you. So I want you to think about it, what you want the offering to be. This is great. So I get in the bathtub, and I'm speaking again to the land, future land that will be ours. What would you like as your offering? Because I want to come in peace. I want you to feel welcome. I want to feel, all of us to feel loved. And this is what I hear. You ready for this? You can give us, yeah, ready? You can give us peanuts. I'm like, what? So my teacher, because she works with shamanic rituals, she offers tobacco. Mine said peanuts, and I was like, I'm obviously making this up. That's ridiculous. Why would the land want peanuts? So I'm laughing. Yeah, right. So I'm thinking, maybe it wants me to feed the squirrels or the chipmunks or something. So in circle, this is a joke because we have the attention spans of squirrels. So I'm laughing so hard in the bathtub, and then I'm like, and I hear the same voice again, a little high pitched, so sweet. You can give us peanuts. Is that because they're hearing me think like, I don't know what to offer, I don't know what to give, I have nothing to give? Oh, like I'll pay you in peanuts? Like, I don't know. It was just like the funniest thing ever. Okay, so I tell the story to my coach. I make her laugh so hard. I tell the story to my sister. I make her laugh so hard. I'm like, now I gotta go find these peanuts, like, I don't know, I gotta find special organic peanuts or something. I don't know what to give her. So we're taking our nightly walk by my mom's house, and I hear like a crunch on the ground as I'm stepping. Hey, Ness. And I'm like, oh, a leaf or whatever. I don't even know why I looked down. It was one single peanut shell. I was like, there's my reminder. I have to go get the peanuts. So tonight, I'm about to come home after work, and I go to Wild by Nature, and I'm like, they must have, where else would have organic peanuts? Like, I don't know. Now, I didn't find organic peanuts, but literally, as soon as I walked in the door, on the left side, there's a giant bag of peanuts. It's like,
What?
yeah, there was a small bag, and there was an enormous bag. I'm like, I think I'm supposed to get the enormous bag. And that's what I got. I don't even know how much it cost. It must have been quite a bit because my bill was pretty high. But I was like, whatever. They want peanuts. They're going to get peanuts all they want. So I want to talk about calling everything in, calling in your wants, calling in your needs, and how to do that tonight. Because I think it's so important for people to realize that it's not just about what you want, or your goals of how you're working towards it. And I think in our society we have one direction, one way of looking for those things or how to achieve them. If we're smart, we write our giant to-do list. If we're even smarter, we have our big goal list, right? But we have the smaller ones written on daily sheets where we can write. Kristen knows all about this. Cross this off in tangible ways of doing it, in biteable parts. And then ultimately you get closer and closer to this major goal. But there are so many ways of doing this. And when we're talking about manifesting, how do you clearly manifest something? It's easy, but it's not as easy as people think because they overthink it, make it very complicated. Who makes it complicated? Anybody make manifesting complicated? Like, oh, and God forbid I say the wrong thing in my head. I'm gonna get the wrong thing. And that's not really how it works. But calling it in is also about doing the spiritual side of it, the understanding that you are not just your own person. You are an individual, but you're part of the greater mass, right? And that's why we're always focusing on this connection that we have together in this community. So in your ancestral lineage, there have been traumas, there have been great things that have happened, but there have been pieces that have been broken apart over the years as well. And you are by no means immune to this, because I'm going to speak about the Akashic records a bit. What I've learned from accessing this greater knowledge over and over again is just the very convincing and validating portion that time is truly not linear the way humans think of it, and that we can concurrently experience many things at once. So I always used to say that deja vu was like a little hole, little poke into, oh look, we're doing it at the same time. Oh, I remember doing this. I'm doing it right now again. And it's validating because that's what I keep hearing over and over again. Like, everything that you think is like the past, present, future is not really like that. So anything that your ancestors experienced or dealt with or did, whether good or bad or, neutral or whatever, you are still dealing with it. Does that make sense? So this is a big thing because some people have what we would call a power loss and they don't even know why. And it could be like all the females on one side, or all the males have, suffer these things. It could be health-wise, however it is. And it's really because there's this power loss over the decades. So when you call it in, you start to heal the ancestral lineage. This is a really, really big thing. And part of that is to make an offering. So my offering of peanuts, I will have to document for you all because it's just so funny. I can't take it. I'm like, oh, I just crushed a peanut shell. Okay, I forgot. I'll go get it. I'll go get the peanuts. So, hey, Christy. How are you? I love when the girls all log on. I'm all ready for you.
I just invited her.
Good. I'm all ready for you. Bring it on. The more the merrier. This is the night you want to be watching, guys, because I'm going to show you in very simple terms on how to make these offerings. So when we have, we've spoken in the past about making an altar, right? And I think, people are so sensitive about terminology. Sometimes you might hear, even in word altar, it triggers something about religion, or it triggers this feeling of how an altar should be, or sometimes it's creepy, or it's whatever. We all have these things. You have to eradicate those types of sensitivity because it's not going to serve you, okay? So if you get triggered by a word like that, acknowledge it. You can replace it in your mind if you need to. That's fine. Don't call it an altar. Call it something else. But basically, it's a place that you're keeping sacred, right? And the reason I'm mentioning the altar again is because when you work for manifestation, or when you work for calling your power back to you, it's really important to have a sacred space, not just a room, but a place that you go to and you set your intentions. Because this, I'm sorry, I speak circularly sometimes with this stuff, but what were we taught in school, Renee? That, like, what's the strongest part of your session? Your intention, right? The strongest part of your whole session is it's all by the intention. And that's called, it was Li, right? L-I in Chinese medicine, Li. So, hey, Jen. Yeah, the girls are coming. Come on, girls. Jen Reedy, great. It's, so the intention, so I can hate, like, in pain, honestly, and sometimes when I'm treating lately, I'm haven't been working out, so, like, my shoulder's not right, all the stuff is off. What helps me tremendously is my focus. My focus is my intention. So if your intention is that powerful, this is really where mind over matter comes into, because my intentions are ultimately to heal. So if this person is having issues, they're coming to me, that means they called upon my energy, and I can very easily now, because I'm so used to it, really, but just many years of practice, I can call to all of my guides, all my spirits, all the divine, and say, I need extra help today. I know you're aware of this, and my intention is for this person to feel X, Y, and Z. Obviously, none of it's going to be bad, and for transition to happen. And that is how my muscles get through things, and that's how we are able to move on. So, intention, very, very strong. So when you're calling something in, let's identify what you may think you want to start calling in. Christy's saying, hey, Nene, I heard you. Love you all. That's great. So get your pen and paper, people. This is the time to decide upon what you are inviting and asking for and wanting more of, or whatever. And then we're going to figure out what the offering should be, okay? Calling it in, guys. You have to call it in. When you go on any type of spiritual journey, any type of practice like this, to tap into these types of energies, it's not just you're asking for it. Hey, Angelo, you're already saying in gratitude. Remember how I say you start your prayers in gratitude, as if it's already occurring, because you're thanking them in advance. Think of your most professional business letter. You say, thank you so much for your attention to this matter, before they even do anything. Thank you in advance for your help, whatever it is. So you're thanking all of your energies in advance for aid in this situation, because time is not linear. So we're already experiencing it, and in that you're living in the gratitude. So when you make your altar, whatever that home base is for you, everyone's is a little different, and when I do readings for people psychically or things like that, I can kind of see what they need to add. But of course we want to make it special, right? You want to have some stones, pictures of your ancestry, you know, little cards, little trinkets, all those things that you're not sure what to do but you don't want to let go of, those tchotchkes, like those little things, there, make a home there. Let them make a home there, and then set them up however you want to set them up. So this is the place where you're going to have probably the most clarity in connecting to, I'm calling all of my healthy ancestors, I'm calling them to help the lineage, to help increase the power of our line, and I'm calling that power back to me. You can call upon anything, right? You can call upon your animal guides, which, by the way, that will be a future workshop. You can call upon land, like I'm calling upon for our future home. You can call upon, what else? Give me something else. Could be anything. It could even be, like we're saying, healthy ancestors, but if you have someone specifically you're asking for aid from your sister or from your father or something like that. But the offering part is what's going to set it a little bit better. Now, when deciding on an offering, this is where deep listening has to occur. And I think it's so interesting. The more I'm doing readings and things like that, the more I'm finding that people are missing the messages big time. They're really not, Kristen's going, yeah, like really not trusting that they have any spiritually psychic connection. They think it's only other people have it, or that's not really what I'm hearing. They don't experience it the same way. They just don't know. And the truth is that you all have these capabilities. Yes, it's easier for some, but that's only because they've been doing listening, or they've had to power through other things before. There's been something that's been moving them quicker than you. So now here's your chance to acknowledge that you can be clairvoyant, you can be any of these things, clairsentient, clairaudio, and what am I missing? Clairaudio, clairsentient, clairvoyant, claircognizant. Any of them. And it doesn't take magic, although it feels like magic. Oh, Christy, I love you too. So the deep listening is the biggest part. So people say, like, how did you know to do that? Or how did you know to do this? Or whatever. And they're like, oh, it's because you're psychic. Well, I'm psychic because I listen really, really hard. So if I'm asking for a sign, or if I'm asking for validation in some direction, then that also means that I'm ready to receive it. So we think that receiving looks a certain way. You lie down, you get a treatment, you meditate, it's going to be glorious and all this other stuff. Like, raise your hand if your meditations aren't always glorious. They don't always transmute, right? They don't always bring you someplace. But I bet every time you do it, you still gain something. And that's part of the glory of the practice. You're still going to get something no matter what the meditation looks like or feels like. You will get something from it because your intention was to be with it. So you're going to get something. So this listening part. So my Women's Healing Circle, we're so overdue for like a meeting, but we always do this reflective listening. So one person speaks for a set amount of time. I choose 4 minutes. The other person listens. They don't say anything back. And then they reflect back in the other person's words. This is what I heard you say. This is the same thing we do with the spirit world. You're asking for something, some sign, some recognition or validation. And then what happens? Are you really listening? Think about it. What do you do after you say a prayer? Or sometimes it sounds so hopeless, like you're begging, like, please God, please make this situation better. This is terrible. Please let this person live. Please let this. What are you doing after that? Are you caught up? Like, what's the story? What's actually happening? So take a moment for that. Understand that, of course, everyone's still listening to you, to your wants, your needs, your wishes. But if you're not listening back, it's basically impossible to receive what you're asking for. It's impossible for them to give you the words or the guidance or give you the space or the financial aspect of it, whatever it is, because they're seeing that you're not really listening. You'll still get something. You always will. But it won't be the way you think it's going to be or that you need. So my point is, even in this instance, when you're looking for what to offer in return, because there should be some exchange as we ask for things, that would be something like putting something on your altar or putting something in nature. So because I'm calling to land, I'm speaking to the trees, because the trees all talk to each other through the roots. I love saying that. So I have a special tree that I talk to, and I know she's spreading the word. If you're speaking about a loved one, and you're being particular and asking for this type of power for their healing, you can place it at your altar, but you can also place it anywhere that you feel connects to them. So if you feel like, oh, they have this special bush that they love, you know, this special area in their yard or this special park or whatever it is, make your offering there. It would make sense, right? And then how do you choose what it is? So when you get into this listening part, take some time. And remember, it might not come immediately because they have to kind of translate to you as well. But at some point, you'll be directed. You could hear it. I've heard things where I'm like, oh, that's what you said. And it didn't happen right away. It was like a few minutes later. I just heard, like, Vanessa, you should do this. Oh, okay. If you're doubting yourself and you think you didn't really hear that, that happens all the time, of course. If it feels bad, don't listen to it. But if it feels good, do it. Does that make sense? Your gut is always going to tell you the truth. It's called a gut for a reason. And your gut is located by all of your main organs. Like we always talk about the Dantian area at the Hara. This is where you're housing the most of your life-giving needs are met here. So when that's being activated, you can feel like your stomach go, all right, I'm relaxed. That feels good. Or, that doesn't really feel good to me. But you have to start to trust that sound, that listening. A sign can be as simple as numbers that like everybody always says, oh, I see 1111, I see this, I see that. And there are definitely powers in numbers, and they definitely tell us a lot. But I bet you're missing some of the other ones. So I'll give you a few seconds. Tell me what signs you've seen from loved ones in the past week or two. Give me a sign. What have you seen? I'll tell you one. What's that?
I hear doorbells in my sleep.
Doorbells in your sleep. And what do you think that means?
For me, I've looked it up, and the thing that resonates best for me is it means typically it's a sign that something, I have to open myself to new opportunities.
Yeah, so this is definitely it's almost like permission. Permission for something to come in.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's asking for your attention, and then if you give it the attention, then you'll allow it in. So remember that it's asking for permission specifically. So it's not just like I'm coming in, I'm banging, I'm breaking through doors. It's literally telling you, I have opportunity here. This is what it looks like. Do you want it? Jen Reedy is saying feathers. Great. Feathers, some people will say they're angels. They're also part of guides, You have to go with what you're feeling of it. I tend to get like numbers of I love you and things like that at the most times when I'm feeling really down, and I'll look up and I'm like, are you serious? Like, that's okay, fine. Or a song. What about songs when they come on the radio or something like that? You're like, wow, that was really meant to be for me. Thank you so much. So that's part of the listening. And then, when I've spoken of resistance in the past, people think that when resistance comes up, that means we stop. It's actually quite the opposite. When you're calling upon something, remember that it definitely doesn't mean that it's going to come immediately like that, or that it's going to be a certain way. So when something happens after you calling upon something, like whatever, I called upon let's say, I'm giving an example, a new office, and the office didn't pan out, or I got a phone call and they canceled or something like that, and now it's not going to work. So some people would say, oh, take that as a sign you're not supposed to do that, right? Or take that as a sign that this. Quite the opposite. When you're calling in for something, calling upon it, you will probably reach a lot of resistance in certain areas where the first person will say to you, oh, that means you're not supposed to do it. No, it actually means it's validation that we're breaking through, we're moving through it. Does that make sense? It's actually, you can call it a test, but it's really like a test of your intention to see if you're really willing to hold this type of power or to accept the help. So sometimes it's the complete opposite, and just be aware of that. And that's, I always find that interesting. Everyone's like, oh, that means you're not supposed to do it. I'm like, what if it really means that I have to just work harder for it and get there? And you'll see things shift. So what types of things could we use for an offering? I got peanuts. So, I got peanuts, girls. What else could we do? What about flowers? Right? Flowers. Some people will leave water for their ancestors.
Like a leaf.
A leaf? Sure. Absolutely. Leaves are amazing. Yeah, any type of foliage or something like that, right? You don't have to leave it for weeks. You just leave it until you feel like that one's complete, and then we move on, just as if you would leave it at somebody's grave, if you're allowed. Flowers or something like that. You're leaving an offering for their remembrance. Jen saying fruit. Yeah, definitely. In with yoga at the end of kirtan, they leave puja, which is just these offerings of gratitude, and everybody joins in and they eat communally sometimes, and it's a way to seal in the blessings. So when we make an offering for energies, don't forget, like, partake in it. So don't just, you know, be mindful about it. Don't just be like, I had this leftover fruit. I don't think any of you would do that. I'm just going to leave it here. No, it's about blessing it. And that intention is really, really powerful. So, how we doing? Y'all good? All right. Let's see. So we'll start to slow it down. I'll take some deep breaths with you. I get excited about this stuff because I have so much to say about it because it really works. And I'll share with you, last night, my homework for myself was to start doing a shamanic journey with drum. And the first time I listened to it, my mind was all over the place. It's like what happens to me in Circle. I get all over the place. I have actually anxiety enters when I start calming down, and like pops me up. And then I'm just out. Not even sleeping, just out. And then I wake up at the very end. So I was like, all right, that was like the warm up. I was like, let me do it myself with my own drumming. And then because I tried again so quickly, the first 4 minutes, again, a bit of a struggle, and then suddenly it just shifted so fast. It shifted so fast, guys. And I'm telling you this because that resistance, that could have been like, see, this isn't for me. This type of meditation is not going to work for me. It's too much. It's whatever. It's boring, or whatever would come up. And I saw the resistance as an opportunity to do it again. And because of that, I was instantaneously rewarded. So just keep that in mind. Very, very different journey the second time, and I can't wait for the third. It's going to be fabulous. So close your eyes. Staring at you, Kristen. Okay. You, the birthday girl looks like she had a week.
Not anymore.
Yeah, aw. Hey, Mary. Close your eyes, and what do we normally do? Contact that breath, right? So before we go anywhere on our trip, let us think about what we want to call in. So it sounds fancier than it is, but if it's something that you've been wanting or you think will serve yourself or your family or your community, then just find that really simple intention. The most simple part of it. It could be something as, I don't know, like, I want more time with my family, more quality time, more happy time. I need more financial support. Whatever it is, just start calling it in. Or if it's looking for that sacred space for yourself, just start thinking about what that could look like. And if you had that blank slate in your life, if you had, empty space, how would the mind create what it should look like, what you want it to look like? You ever notice that when you actually give it space, things start to fill themselves in very easily? And you can see it, you can feel it. So over the next couple of minutes, you'll really start thinking about what it is you're wanting to bring into your life. And if you don't really know, or if it's not clear right now, don't worry about it. It's okay. And right now you can pick something really, really simple as like, I want my garden to be ready and I want my fruits to prosper. Something as simple as that. And as the breath naturally starts to begin to slow, release anything that's excess for your body, for your mind, allowing the third eye area to become very, very soft. And if it's not there yet, you can always wave your hand slowly over that area and turning it counterclockwise, so it would be towards your right eye. So just slowing down the chakra, letting it release itself. So coming into a meditation like this, it's the first few minutes are really about releasing the day, even when you're in the middle of the day, releasing the reality around you, releasing the thoughts that are weighing you down or taking space. And once you can let the thoughts fade a bit, then we come into this space of openness, and this space of openness is so amazing because what I told you before, your soul wants to fill in all of those worrisome areas that are making you very uneasy. Your soul wants you to be at peace, so it starts to create instantly beautiful spaces and places for you to explore and for you to experience. So for the first part of this meditation, you're going to be in a darker space, still feeling very safe, but you're standing under the stars. There's really no other lights around. So allow yourself to just check out the stars for a few breaths, noticing how they twinkle. Noticing how when it's this dark, you can feel the sky. It feels like if you reached up and grabbed your hand into the sky that you'd be able to touch something. It would be textured. It feels so deep. And then notice how the ground beneath you feels so stable compared to the opening of space. And the breath should be pretty slow right now. So in your mind's eye, I want you to take your hands up into the night sky, and as if you can touch some stars, I just want you to bring your hand high up and point to a few stars and planets, and sense that they're getting the note, that they can feel your energy back. And then bring your attention to the ground. And the ground beneath you is nice and deep with grass and some soft earth. And you bring your fingertips to the earth. And from your fingertips, you'll see areas of the ground light up, as if you're playing the piano just one finger at a time, seeing those areas on the ground just light up. So as you stay in this position, I want you to start calling upon your helpers and your energies. Anything that will serve you is going to come to you now. You'll feel their power coming through your fingertips, and you'll start to speak out loud your wishes, what you were wanting, what you were calling in. And as soon as you finish speaking it, you're going to stand up nice and tall and and very quietly start to walk into the darkness. Only thing lighting everything up is the moon and the stars. And I want you to notice what path you go down. I said it was very dark. I said there was ground beneath you, but I didn't say what type other than, dirt and grass. So the rest of your surroundings are going to be filled in by your mind. I can see what I think it looks like. And what I want you to contact are your senses. So notice the sounds as you step. And now notice if it smells like anything. Notice if you open your mouth, if you can feel the temperature, even if the air has a taste to it, maybe it's sweet or salty. Just feel that. And then start looking with your third eye. So this third eye is going to give you the sight that you can't necessarily see so much in the dark, but you have the sense of what's in front of you. A little bit like a bat. And you're going to walk towards a forest very calmly. You're not even going to go in, you're just going to stay at the edge of it. And at the edge of it, there is lots and lots of things. We have some animals here you should be able to hear. And we also have a stone-made altar. So there's one long, big stone, big rock, and it's pretty flat on top. And you're going to see yourself taking things out of a bag that you've had and placing them on the altar. So here's the part, I don't want you to edit it. So whatever comes out of that bag is sacred immediately, even if it's silly. And one by one you'll take them out and you'll place them. You probably won't even have to rearrange them. And once the area is not full, but it just looks decorated, then we'll come to a feeling of completeness. And then you'll again thank in advance for all the aid and assistance you have in calling upon whatever the power is, for healing anything that needs to be healed and making room for receiving in your life. So you may come to this altar in your mind before you even make up your own outside altar, or vice versa. But this will be another sacred place that you have the choice of. And this may be the place that you get the clarity of what you're really calling to. So what would it look like if you came here every day for 2 weeks? Maybe there would be a shift. I think there would be. And the more you do it, the faster it would happen. And if resistance shows up as something that gets in the way, an obstacle, you can take my advice and see it as a bigger validation that you should be doing it instead of the other way. So on that altar, there's definitely a couple of candles. And as you light them up, You repeat, I am here in thanks. I am here in thanks. Thank you so much. And then you're silent. And I want you to do that deep listening we were discussing before. This part where you're just listening to your breath and see if you can hear or feel any response. So I'll give you about a minute for that. And I'll just focus on my Ujjayi breath to fill the space. And then take one deep breath in with me. Good. And as you're sealing in your intentions into the altar, remember that what you're calling in is all up to you. If you've forgotten that you have choice in this life, I'm here to reassure you that you have choice in every situation, and some are definitely harder than others. They really are. But that do not be distracted by change or resistance. And do not be distracted by obstacles. Your biggest yes can come from your hardest no. So every breath that you take in front of this altar or any other place you create sacredness with, remember that it's a choice to be there. It's a choice to be doing that. And as you stay in that present moment, you will be rewarded for keeping honor and for keeping sacredness, because that's a higher vibration than you can possibly imagine. And that creates faith, and faith creates hope. And my favorite Shawshank Redemption, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. So as you become and create that hope, you are calling to every happy, authentic power and energy that's ever belonged to your soul and the soul of your ancestors, and thus raising that vibration that we need higher and higher and keeping us there more and more. So you'll take a bow to your altar, bow to that space, cover your hands over your heart. Notice if you see any one last thing, any signs, any symbols, any animals, and you'll thank them for keeping that space sacred until we meet again. And you'll start taking your walk back very, very quietly now in complete darkness, only using your sense of self here, knowing that you are here and you're returning to your physical body safely, softly. And as you start to land back wherever you are, see if you can synchronize your breath with how you are walking, with your heartbeat, and just coming back into the softness here. And maintaining that sensation of energy as you call into your deepest wants and wishes. You'll take these intentions with you as if you've written them down, because that's ultimately what you're doing, really putting a stamp on everything. And then you'll bring your hands onto your body, wherever you're called to for the last few breaths together, finding what needs some adjusting, and letting all the healing continue. And as always, we thank our guides, guardians, angels, loved ones, all of the divine, for joining us in prayer, meditation, intentions, and guidance. Beautiful. So I'll keep my voice soft as you all return to me, or not, and stay in bed. I can hear my husband doing stuff. It's okay. He's active. He's ready to play some music. So, my friends, yeah, can you know, oops, I'm messing up my electronics. Could you notice, like, the tangibility of the sky?
Definitely.
Yeah, like, when I see the sky that dark, I really feel like I can, like, poke into it or something. And, I don't know, last night, my friend Mary and I were talking about, like, oh my gosh, does every star twinkle like that? Because we could see some, because it was darker. I was like, I really have to pay more attention to the stars. We got to find a darker place. So, when you were walking, could you feel it a little differently when we had a little bit more sensory deprivation? Could you actually feel that? You don't all have to answer me. It's just the thought of...
I have my window open and I'm hearing the wind, I'm hearing the breeze.
Oh, nice.
So that all into my visualization.
Perfect. Perfect. That's great.
I had to laugh. I was walking through after I touched the ground, and I was walking through a forest. And then you said, okay, now you've come to a forest. I'm like, so now this is funny. I was walking through a forest towards an ocean.
Oh, nice.
I was like, well, we'll just make a left here and go back to the forest. I'm like, okay, I just made a nice left.
That's great.
Followed the line for a bit. And you're like, altar. Oh, there.
And there it is. See?
There's the altar. Okay. Right on the edge of the forest facing the ocean. It's perfect.
Oh, that's awesome. What were you going to say, Nene?
Oh, that I was more in a field the whole time, and like the forest was kind of like Mutton Town Preserve, where that big space, but then all the trees far ahead. So I really didn't get into the forest, but I was near the edge.
Yeah, I think I brought you to the edge for a reason, because I want people to start realizing they have a... What's that?
All right.
Yeah.
I thought you...
Night, Nessa.
I stayed on.
Yeah, you're supposed to stay at the edge. It's fine.
Okay, because that's where I was.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, ultimately, you can put your altar anywhere, but for tonight, I wanted you to have, like, visibility all around, the feeling of, like, openness behind you.
No, that's exactly what
for a reason. So when we do an altar, it's like, I think most people don't have it, like, in the center of the room. There's usually some sort of backing around it. I don't know if there's really a reason behind it. Sometimes, energetically, we like to have, like, to keep it on one spot, so it's like, you know, I don't want everybody around it or behind it or whatever, but maybe also just to kind of keep it contained so that you have that sacredness to it. But you can put it anywhere you feel called to do it.
There were cats guarding mine.
What were there?
Bobcats were guarding
Bobcats. Can I tell them? So in Kristen's Akashic record reading, I saw her lineage actually in bobcat form. So that was great. I'm so glad bobcats were there.
I was like, what? That's weird.
Yeah.
By the water.
which are part of, or whatever, they're related to the lynx, and my current power animal is the lynx, so it's lovely. And yet, in both visions, I saw the physical differences. I'm like, no, mine look like this, yours look like this. Very clearly. Really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, bobcats and deer.
Hey, one of my sessions, I very clearly saw like Bullwinkle, which is a moose, right? But the spirits were telling me it's an elk. So I was like, okay. I don't know. Sure, it's an elk. Looks nothing like an elk. Looks like Bullwinkle, but that's fine. That's okay. So just listen to spirit. That's what they say. Okay. See, I told you they have a sense of humor. That's why I'm like, if it seems silly, it's still okay. I'm like, all right, that's cool. There's a reason for it.
The thing came out of my bag, the first thing, in fact, was the I guess it's the Magic Pony or whatever that show is.
Oh, My Little Pony?
My Little Pony, yeah. But it's the very rare immortal pony, right?
Oh, really?
Little object, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that a friend of the family who's very, very heavily involved with the show, brought that to Ian's funeral to wake. Put it in the coffin, and it was cremated with him, so I don't actually have it.
So it is sacred.
Wow. The bag, and first item went right on the altar, and I'm like, okay.
That was surprising. I love it.
Go with it? I'll go with it.
I love it. That's so great. Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. Mary, I found my peanuts. I don't know if you heard that. I'll tell you, hopefully. Can't even. I was like, what? So, all right. So I'm going to sign off on Facebook, but for, this week and the coming weeks until the so-called end of our consecutive weeks, I really do want people to write about their experience. So if you saw last week's homework post, it gives you... Shut up. It gives you questions that I'm asking you to respond to, because it's so helpful for me and for others to see how this has, shifted anything in your life or anything like that. So just a reminder just to look at that. I might repost it at some point, but please do that. And that's it for now. If you have something you want me to talk about for the next 2 weeks, a subject that you're curious about or anything that doesn't, if it's too long, I might put it in workshop form for the future, but you should really, really, really give me a recommendation or whatever you want to talk about, because there's so many subjects in the spiritual world, and if you're curious about something or you would just like to, hear my point of view on it, then this is your opportunity. So think about it. Okay, guys? That's all. Love you. Namaste.